This is great. Okay, so I'm Dr. Shelton. Lauren Bailey. We're working on an honors project together, and I'll tell the title, she'll mention it as well, called Foster Parent Inconsistencies in the Midwestern United States. Lauren, here's your honor cord. Congratulations. Everything you've done. Forward to hearing your presentation. And over to you.
Thank you. Hello, welcome. I appreciate you coming to my presentation on the inconsistency in Midwestern United States. I have spent the last year diving into the foster system. Not only have I spent a year reading about the policy, but I have begun a career with this vulnerable population. I have seen some great successes, but I've seen a lot more failures that have negatively impacted these children. So today, I am here to argue for a policy change of the foster system. I honestly wish that I could just tear it down and rebuild from scratch, but because that is not feasible, I propose that a new screening system of foster parents be created. Evidence suggests that there is a logical connection between the screening of foster parents and selecting appropriate candidates who are prepared to take on the vital role of becoming a foster parent. What does this mean? Every state in the United States has different requirements and steps to become a licensed foster parent. By each state having their own system to approve foster parents, there are obvious inconsistencies throughout our country. The research I conducted focused on 4 states in the Midwest, including Iowa, Nebraska, Missouri, and North Dakota. Why does any of this matter? Foster children are more likely to develop emotional, behavioral, and/or developmental problems. Due to this, foster parents need to be properly assessed to ensure that they meet this vulnerable population's needs. Well, my final paper covers 7 main inconsistencies within the screening system. I can only go over 4 today due to time constraints. The 4 topics are personal qualifications, background checks, the training, and the health requirements. Within these 4 topics, I will touch on both the similarities and the differences. The first topic is personal qualifications. In the analysis of the states, it is apparent that there are 2 shared characteristics between the 4 states, and that is requiring a minimum age and requesting that the applicants be literate. However, Nebraska's minimum age is set at the age of majority, 19, while the other state's minimum is set at 21. While Nebraska's Department of Health and Human Services states that applicants are required to be the age of majority, Nebraska's Children's Home Society states that applicants must be 21. Nebraska's Children's Home Society provides pregnancy, parenting, adopting, post-adoption, foster care, and early childhood services, meaning that this is an agency that foster parents applicants can go through to obtain their license. Depending on what website or agency in Nebraska that I researched, the required age varied between 19 and 21. I did attempt to obtain clarification on this discrepancy through the Department of Health and Human Services. However, I was unable to connect with anyone that was able to answer the question if the required age is actually 19 or if it's 21. On the second similar qualification of literacy, there is one small difference. Iowa, Nebraska, and North Dakota all specifically state that foster parents must be literate. However, Missouri states that applicants are required to meet developmental necessities. From the research, I have concluded that applicants only need to be literate enough to read medication labels and track when the medication was last taken. While the 4 research states may seem alike in certain aspects, there are way more contradictions than there are similarities. As you can see on this slide, there are at least 10 qualifications that another state does not require. Iowa, Nebraska, and North Dakota all require applicants to be financially stable. However, none of the state policies specifically explain what financially stable defines as. Are the applicants considered financially stable if they qualify for WIC or SNAP? Do they have to make a minimum amount of money every year? Do their debts count against them? Iowa is then the only state that requires their applicants to respect the foster children's religious beliefs. They also have to provide evidence of a healthy relationship if they are currently in one in the application process, as well as have good judgment. Again though, the term good judgment is not defined. Iowa and Missouri require their applicants to have communication skills. This is important because the foster parents need to advocate for their prospective foster children. However, communication skills is not defined. While all 4 states require a physical examination to be completed, Missouri is the only state that requires a mental health evaluation as well. Missouri also specifies that applicants must be an American citizen and either born, naturalized, or they can be in the process of becoming naturalized. Finally, North Dakota applicants must demonstrate that they are knowledgeable of rational and sensible parenting skills. They are also required to support a healthy relationship between the foster child and their biological family. The next major inconsistency is background checks. The states exhibit a variety of age criteria for mandatory background checks. As you can see, Iowa requires a background check on any individual that lives in the applicant household that is the age of 14 or older. On the other hand, Missouri requires a background check to be completed on individuals 17 and older, as well as individuals that are under the age of 17 that have been convicted of a crime. Nebraska and North Dakota require individuals 18 years of age or older to have the background check completed. As you can see, between just these 4 states, there is quite a large age gap. Not only is there a varying age range, but the type of background checks also vary. While one background check may be contained within another, states do not clarify that they will be completed during the application process. For example, North Dakota is the only state that does not specify that an abuse registry background check will be completed. Missouri and North Dakota's policies do not include the sex offender registry. Nebraska runs not only an abuse registry check, but they also check with Adult Protective Services to see if you are on their list, which they are the only state that I know of that does complete that background check. Nebraska conducts all of their background checks within states that the applicants have resided in within 5 years. Finally, North Dakota is the only state that completes a national identity verification using their fingerprints. The third topic of training, or the third topic is the training of foster parents. The main inconsistency of training foster parents is that some states require certain topics and others only require a total of hours. For instance, Missouri requires pre-service training and in-service training. Pre-service training must be completed before obtaining a license, and in-service training is an ongoing type of training. While the trainings are only labeled pre-service and in-service, there are required topics within each that are discussed in the final paper. Nebraska, on the other hand, requires 21 hours of training to be completed. The training can be over any topic that is approved by the Department of Health and Human Services. It must include reasonable and prudent parenting standards, and Nebraskans are required to complete a human trafficking training. Not only are the trainings inconsistent throughout the states, but studies have shown that foster parents are not adequately trained. Finally, the last topic is health requirements. While all 4 states require that applicants have a completed and signed physical exam conducted by a medical professional, the allowed gap of time between when the physical is conducted and turned in varies between states. For example, Iowa applicants must have a physical examination turned in that was completed no more than 6 months prior to the application date. However, North Dakota applicants must have a physical examination that was completed no more than 12 months to the application date, so there is a 6-month gap there. As displayed on the slide, Iowa is the only state that requires all family members that reside within the applicant home to have a physical exam completed and turned in. And then Missouri not only requires a physical examination, but also requires a mental health screening that must be completed by a psychiatrist. And then Nebraska and North Dakota require proof of updated vaccines, and they have to have the most recent whooping cough vaccine. And as far as I know, COVID-19 vaccines are not required. In conclusion, I recommend that a standardized nationwide screening process be created. Due to evidence suggesting that there's a logical connection between the screening of foster parents and selecting appropriate foster parent candidates. The creation of a new screening process would ensure that foster parents across the United States are all held to the same standards. As stated before, foster children are more likely to develop emotional, behavioral, and developmental problems. If a nationwide screening process of foster parents was implemented, the chosen foster parent applicants would potentially be better suited to care for this vulnerable population. Are there any questions?
Well done. First, great job. We didn't talk much about funding.